Hello, my darlings. Hello, hello, hello. Get yourself settled, Wallis, and look at my over here at my earth angels that are here today, having a little bit of a bit like us all, really, at the moment. They're having a bit of a oomph and a grunt and a grizzle and and a whinge and a whine. And I don't know, it's like us all, isn't it? I mean, we're all in that boat at the moment, having a bit of a grizzle and a whine and a whinge and whatever. But welcome to you, gorgeous, gorgeous light beings and travelers in time. Today's interesting because I had a week off, so thank you for being patient. And if you've rejoined Wednesdays with Wallis, Psychic Medium, thank you for coming back because as you all know, and I've mentioned it, I have been going through a very, very tough time lately. And I just got to the point last week where I just couldn't be of service. I just couldn't plug in. I couldn't be in the energetic space I needed to be in. I just simply wasn't there. So I thought, right, if you can't serve in the way that you'd like to serve, a bit like Joe Biden, isn't it? If you can't serve in the way that you'd like to serve and you'd like to do the best by people, then, best to just stand back, stand down, stand off, and just, come back later, come back at another time. So anyway, I've had the week off. I'm re-energized, as I hope all of you are under the present circumstances, those of you in the US, those in Europe, those in the UK. We're all facing different things, but one of the things that I hope you're doing is, and I'm encouraging you to look after you. What are you doing for you? So maybe in the comments below, tell me. And what I'd like to do, and I'd like to ask, is those of you that are on the program and on the show each week, this week, could you put in where you're from? Some of you tell me where you're from, but a lot of you, I don't know where you are from, but I'd like to. So could you put in where you're from, or, the country that you're from? You don't have to give me, exact details. But yeah, I'd love to know where you're from. So put it in the comments below. A little bit of shameless self-promotion I like to do every week. Click on the like button, and as a lady suggested recently, which thank you for your positive input, is put a little heart or put something. I'm looking for this algorithm thing to pick up a bit more on Wednesdays with Wallis, Psychic Medium. But I have some news for you today, which I'll give you in a little while. So donations, yes, you can make donations. We welcome donations to our channel to to keep it going and keep us on track and keep us moving along. And pardon me. So and I want to say thank you to Dana that I did a reading for a week or whatever ago. Fantastic. It was fantastic. So I hope that was really good for you, Dana. I hope that was helpful and you got, something out of it for yourself. I'm choosing to ignore any silly remarks I get, pardon me, on the show, because it's just simply, I'm not prepared to get into the toing and froing, and this is not a debating program. It's not a debating channel. It's just simply me being and bringing forward my own skills and what I get, what I'm given, and I don't know, You like it, you don't like it. That's okay. But perhaps elsewhere might be a better place for you. If you're looking for input, other people's input, if you're looking for the toing and froing and a bit of an argument and a debate there, perhaps look elsewhere. That's all I can say. I'm not interested in the rest of the stuff. My little girl here is whinging. It's having a little whinge this morning. Come on, up a daisy, into your bed. That's it. And as I said, we're all having a bit of a whinge. Now, some of my stuff, you've probably been wondering what the heck is going on around that woman. There seems to be, a bit of up and down lately, and there is, because while I've been doing all of this, I've also been packing up and preparing. It's not for another 2 or 3 months, but I have a lot of stuff to move, and I'll be moving house, or will be moving house, and the situation and the circumstances around that have been a bit trying, and I won't go into all that, but that's been a bit trying and a bit stressful, and still is. And then on top of that, I had a bit of family news that was fairly distressing, very distressing, and so I've sort of had that to. What can I say? I've had that to, to sort of cope with, but get my head around and put that in a place where I can, handle it, and it's not too stressful for me. Now, I'm not going to be doing today personal readings for people, but I will begin those again next week. So put your hand up and yell out if you like, just say, me, Wallis, me, I'm up for it. And next week I'll do, another 2 or 3 readings with people. But this week I'm not going to. I am going to touch on a couple of things that I want to talk about today that's been coming up over this last week for me. But the other news that I have for you that I want to share, and while I'm talking to you, I'm now going to grab the cards. And while I'm talking, I'm going to be doing a reading and asking the question today about what the universe is saying about all the things that are going on. And that's everything that's going on, from the Middle East to the US to the UK to all sorts of areas. So I've been looking at the universe lately and looking at a lot of what's going on in the heavens. I've been looking at the whole, sort of astrology area and the transits and all the planets and the big movement and the stuff that's happening. And we've certainly come upon a very, very interesting time in our evolution and what's going on with us and where we're going and what's, going to be taking place. And it's not over yet. It's certainly going to have while this big transit that's happening with Pluto, while that moves and settles, and it will come November, after sort of, I think, mid-November or whatever, it will seat itself in its next big cycle of 200 odd years. But coming out of this 200 odd years and out of the planet it's been sitting in, into Aquarius, and this is the age of Aquarius. So it's significant, very significant, and very significant movement and impact on our lives and our own evolution and our own evolvement. Now, the other bit of news, I said I'd give you another bit of news, and I'm going to, coming soon, and we're working on it at the moment. I'm not exactly sure when we'll be launching that. I suspect it'll be sometime in September. I haven't we haven't got the date for that yet or sorted that. There's still quite a bit of work being done on it. But I don't know whether I had mentioned, I'm going to set that aside. That fell out, so I'm going to set that Wands card. I'm going to set that aside because I want to read that. I want to include that in the reading when I do it around what's going on and what's happening. Now, the news, the big news is that, and it'll be on a separate, it'll come in on a separate day, and it'll have its own channel for obvious reasons. But I think I had mentioned that I have an identical twin sister. In fact, I only have one sister, my identical twin. And we've decided after all these years, many, many of them, to come together and do something together as psychic twins. And we are both very psychic, as a lot of twins are. Twins are, I guess, I'm not going to say unique in that way, but twins are very, we do. My mother used to call us oddiebods. She used to think we were very, very odd. And I guess to her, and on the surface, I suppose it looked that way. We were, we sort of, we used to, finish each other's sentences, and we were mirror images of each other. And I think my mother, looking on and watching, was a bit perplexed and put off by that. So if she saw us sort of huddling, and that meant just sort of being together, we spent all our time together, of course, and we're inseparable. And I suppose my mother looked at that and thought, oh, they're odd, because she just didn't really understand it. And of course, they did the normal things, dressed us like dressed us alike and put the same clothes on us and the same colours and the same everything. I've got some very, very cute pictures of my sister and I when we were littlies, dressed in clothes and dressed in things the same. We did look two peas in a pod. I don't know whether we are now, but I suppose we are. People say, are you twins or are you identical twins? I sort of don't see it, but, I don't know. Perhaps we are. But anyway, we will be launching, Judith is her name, and Judith and Wallis, psychic twins, will be launching that next month, I think, sometime. And that'll be a fun thing. But I'll let you know. We'll put a link in and you'll be able to go and take a look at our videos together, probably a bit silly at times, because we tend to get that way when we're together. But anyway, I thought I'd tell you about that because that's what's going to be happening. Okay, another card as I was doing this, there's the Four of Wands, and that came out as well. So I'm going to sit that near that other one that came out. Yeah, very interesting, this card. I have to tell you, it's very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to shuffle these, and I'm going to pull out, and we're going to look at what's going on around. But I did want to say that one of the things that's been coming up for me a lot lately, books sort of falling off the shelf. I was packing I've got a big, huge bookshelf. I'm a mad book person. I've got, apart from what's in here in the office, but in the other area of the house with the big bookcase, I've got a huge amount of books and I've been packing them. And of course, it's a bit of a thing for me. I don't know how it is for you, but I get into packing up things like that. And then, of course, books and things basically fall off the shelf at me. And then I've got to say to myself, oh, what's that? And then I'll go, oh. and then I'll start having a little read. And needless to say, the task of packing the books has been a bit slow and drawn out, because yours truly now has sitting on the table, the dining table, a little pile of, books, or a couple of piles of books actually, that I have said to myself, I'm going to keep those out because I need to take a look at them. In all of this, she says she's got the time, but I'm making the time. So the thing that's been coming out, and the thing that's been coming along for me, is one, this age of Aquarius, but this fifth dimension, this movement of ourselves to the fifth dimension. And then I was having some quality time with my sister last week early on, and we had to do a trip, a bit of a road trip out of town, and then come back. And it was about an 8-hour day with the trip, and it was a bit long. And but anyway, it was wonderful and it was fabulous, and we had some lovely quality time together, her and I. And we were talking about, on the return trip, we were talking about a book that was written many, many years ago about the Pleiades. And it was, I think it was called the Pleiadian Agenda. But anyway, it was about the prediction from the Pleiades, and they predicted they predicted a woman president for the United States. And that's been coming. And when the Hillary Clinton thing went on, I thought, oh, there's the Pleiades prediction. But anyway, that wasn't ready. That wasn't quite the time. But this is definitely the time. This is definitely the universe pushing it along, hence all the momentum, hence all the things that are going on, hence all of the, all the negative part of it as well. But it was predicted by the Pleiades, and I think that that's definitely something that's going to take place. But one of the things that have come up around that has been this whole area of the goddess, and that's why we're seeing this whole thing around women and the support of women, and how that's all happening and what that's all about. And that's not surprising, because that's been coming up. It was there on the movement in 2012 when the Mayan calendar ended. There was this whole movement, and we're seeing that now come into play very prominently, aren't we, with this whole thing around the US and the elections that are going on there. Okay, in the middle. Okay, all right. I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to put this one over here and this one here. Now, I'm just going to show you these cards. There's the Emperor, the Fool, and the Four of Wands, the Nine of Wands, and this one here, the Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords is what's going on in the US. Queen of Swords is this feminine, and it's what's going on in the US. It's what's happening in other areas of the world, and there's this rise of the goddess. There's this female energy, and I think I mentioned in one of my videos quite some time ago, the Dalai Lama said that the world would be saved by the feminine energy. And that also applies to men who have a strong feminine energy to them. Don't get all that mixed up with a whole lot of other things around it. Just simply men who have a strong feminine energy, because we all have male and female, and we all have a mixture of both, and it depends what we exhibit and who we are and what's going on with us, how we express and exhibit that. And there are a lot of very strong men out there in the world that are supportive and supporting women's rights and supporting the feminine. And that's really, really important. So this card is the strong feminine. That's what I'm getting from that card. So it's not surprising that it came up in this reading today and all this stuff that's going on with the movement of the planets and the movement of everything. It's this feminine energy. And I mentioned about, you know, the male energy or the strong male. This is the strong male. And if we were to look at this as the US, this would be Kamala Harris and this would be Joe Biden. And this, and I'm saying that in relation to what I just said a few minutes ago about the feminine energy and the male feminine energy, if that makes sense to you. I hope it does, because I don't want to get all these ratbag comments. In fact, don't make them, don't bother. So, and then the Fool card is here. I love the Fool. The Fool is about starting out on a new journey. The Fool is about packing up your bag, and the dog's barking at his feet, and he's looking up to the heavens, and he's starting out on this new journey. That's where we're at, aren't we, for a lot of us? I'm around me, which is very, very interesting. I'm moving house in 3 months, but in this previous 2 or 3 months and at present, just around me personally, there are at least probably 5 other people who are moving and doing and have moved, and things have come up and change has come up fairly quickly, and, you know, they've moved on fairly quickly from what would seem like a set, stable sort of, you know, a situation that you wouldn't have thought. And suddenly, boom, you know, suddenly change has happened, and which has brought about, you know, this moving on. And that's what's happened, you know, here with our situation, with us. Yes, a bit of a headbang, really. Okay, all right, so let's go back to the movement of the planets and this movement through this end of this cycle, which is the end of the old and the beginning of the new. The Fool says that. The Fool says there's a new energy around this. There's a new thing. There's a victory celebration around that, because good comes of that. It has to come of it. Good must come out of it. And the reason that good must come out of it is because we're ending the old and we're entering new. And this old structures, older ideas, anything that has entrenched itself around us in ways that create us to be stuck, create stuckness, okay? So that's what's going on. That's what's been going on. And we've had, it was interesting, as I said to you originally, when this card came out, this card is about, I see this card somewhat as the energy I'm getting from it is somewhat of a wounded self. You know, we've all been feeling a bit wounded. And I get why people make negative comments, you know, all the silly stuff they say. I get why they do it, because, you know, a lot of that's coming from fear. You know, fear of change, fear of and older ideas, and being stuck in, you know, certain ideas and ideologies and stuck in stuff. And, you know, look, all I can say is to all of you, and I mean, I've been experiencing this myself. I'm saying to all of you, you know, just forget the stuckness. Don't get stuck. Be willing to embrace. Be willing to look at, you know, what else. Be willing to look at your lives. I'm going to have a little. Oh yes. Well, hello. All right. But I want to have a little look at this center piece here. Yes. Okay. All right. Now, I wish I could sort of, you know, I'm hoping to solve that where I might be able to show you the cards. But the Knight of Pentacles came out. This card here I absolutely love. This is just what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about that in a minute. This one here, you know, where we're blindfolded and all that sort of thing. This one here around the, you know, the money and pentacles and worrying about, and I get it, you know, because some of this says about, you know, the worry about economies and the worry about things. You know, look, it's everywhere. You know, people, I hear them, you know, people say, oh, you know, we've got, you know, we've got this in the US and we've got this and we've got this. Everybody, every country is faced with its problems, escalating costs. You know, I made a comment, and it might be something for you to think about. But when COVID came along, I said to quite a lot of people at the time, how are we going to pay for this down the line? How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to, how are governments, how was our government here in Australia? They were, you know, they gave out some fairly generous packages to people to get through. And, you know, they jumped on everything fairly quickly. And it was great. It was good for people. Mind you, like everything, a few people took advantage of it. But, you know, they jumped on it fairly quickly to help people through the whole COVID thing. But nevertheless, regardless, it was still of enormous billions of dollars in costs. And, you know, I said, well, how are we going to pay for that? Because the thing is that it had to be paid for. It had to be paid for out of something. Who's going to pay for it? And of course, it's got to come out of society. It's got to come out of our pockets. And I don't mean that, you know, we're being robbed or whatever. That's not true. But everything has to be paid for in the way that it gets paid for. It doesn't matter whether you're a little community or you're a big community or you're a country. It's all got to be paid for out of the coffers and what's collected and the taxes that we pay and everything else. I mean, that's just is bloody common sense. So things have to be paid for. And I said, and here in Australia, we've had enormous hikes in housing interest rates, you know, on mortgages and things like that. Huge. And they're talking about another 2 or 3. God help us. But, you know, it just is. It's to try and, you know, curb inflation and to, you know, really, bottom line, to pay for what's gone on. And I suspect that on a much larger scale, you know, Europe, US, everywhere else is, you know, in the same boat, paddling their proverbial canoe on the same types of issues. So for me, though, instead of complaining about those things and whinging about them and going, oh, you know, whatever, la, 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 I don't get into that. I get into thinking about creativity, being creative, and how can I create more for me and more in my life. Now, this whole area of what I looked at originally with this, you know, being bound up, there's real opportunity for growth for us all if we don't get ourselves caught up and bound up in the nonsense. Can I say that to you? Don't get bound up in the nonsense, because nonsense, a lot of it is. It's meaningless instead of meaningful. Okay? And I want to say that to you because I truly, truly believe it. There is wonderful things to be had out of taking control of your own life and looking at your own skills and your own abilities and your own creativeness and others. I mean, it's very, very interesting. My sister and I walked into a shop the other day, and there were two gorgeous women in there, and they said to us, "Oh, you're the second set of twins, identical twins that we've had in here today," which would be, I mean, how often would that happen? But anyway, it happened in the shop, and Judith and I were standing there listening and watching, and both of us immediately thought of, well, what was the message there for the two people that experienced that? And so when you look at it, you look at the whole area of Gemini, the twins, and look at what was being said to those people, what was being said. And when we were talking to them, one of the women, my sister, said, "Are you moving? Are you going?" You know, she's very psychic, my sister. And she said, "Are you moving?" And I saw a studio, this really small but wonderful studio of this person would be working in this studio, doing something with their hands in relation to, you know, pottery or something they were creating. And it turns out that the person is moving, and they are going to create a studio space in their house for themselves. And they had been thinking about going back into the clothing trade where they once had a label they produced. But they also had embarked off on some other things. So what we were saying about pottery or that type of thing resonated, and the person was quite excited and quite in awe that, you know, we had come through the door and here we were. But it was the Gemini thing, and it reminded us, both of us, of this working together, this area of co-creation. And it's interesting that that has come up for both my sister and I, where we're going to do this channel, a channel of our own together. And that's been a lifetime coming. So very interesting stuff going on. So there's not just the opportunity for us to create in our own right, so to speak, or with our own skills, but we can join and co-create with others. So don't forget to look at those things when you're looking at some of the ideas that you have. Think about who you might work with and who you might share those with. Not being bound up in our thinking, not being caught up, because there is a tendency right now, because this movement of the planets and the big movement in the planets, there's some other biggies out there that are moving after many hundreds of years. And this is all taking place because we are moving, and that movement for us will require a bit of a stretch. It will require us to change some thinking. It will require us to be more engaged in, you know, those things around us, and more accepting of, you know, to make the path easier. Why make it difficult? Why get bound up in dogma and old thinking and old stuff? Why get bound up in all that and hang on to that like, you know, your life depends on it? Because I have to tell you, darlings, your life doesn't bloody depend on it at all. And the sooner we all, and I've gone through this myself, so don't get caught up in, you know, what's out there, you know, economies, this, that, politicians, politics. Don't get caught up in all out there like that. That is your life, and it's going to be your life, because that's simply not true. History is full of stories of people who have broken away from that, and none of that meant anything in their life. They made their life what they wanted their life to be. So I'm saying to you, do that for you. This reading today on this movement is about the feminine. It's about the goddess. It's about us moving through this time of a bit of head banging and a bit of, you know, old thinking ourselves. But there is a victory for that. But there is this new beginning. There is this new energy. There's this new, and the planets are bringing that. And we're seeing that manifested on, you know, in a physical way, in elections, wars, in all sorts of things. There's this movement, there's this getting on with it, getting out of it, moving on. And not everything happens overnight or in the timing that we want, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, and it isn't happening. There's a lot of gurgling, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of stuff. It's a bit like when you dig into the soil. On the top you've got your garden bed and everything, but if you start shifting some of the soil, there's a lot going on in under there, isn't there? You know, worms, and, you know, I moved a pot over the weekend. I just moved it to be able to tidy around it. Oh, there was all sorts of movement going on under the surface. That's what I'm saying to you. There's lots of things happening under the surface. This is a very, very positive reading. I'm going to just pop those back in, but I'm going to just do another little quick asking of this whole thing that's happening in the US. And there's no use leaving me comments. I'll go back to that again. There's no use leaving me comments that are negative about, you know, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. There's no use leaving me, you know, derogatory comments about all that, or some little smart aleck thing that you might drop into the mix, because quite frankly, I don't care. And the other thing is, it's rubbish. It's just a load of rubbish. I'm interested in, you know, I'm pro-democracy. I'm interested in freedom. And I'm like her. I totally go along with Kamala Harris. Don't look back, look forward. She's got the right idea. Don't look back, go forward. Okay. I want to I want you to show me, oh, lots of cards coming out there. I'm going to just sit those out. I haven't looked at them yet, but I'll get them. I want you to show me the first woman president of the United States. Will that be Kamala Harris? The first woman president of the United States. Will that be Kamala Harris? Will Kamala Harris be the first woman president of the United States? Yep. Okay. All right. Yes. Yes, of course. Okay. Ace of Wands, King of Cups, Six of Wands. Love that. And the Devil card. Okay. Devil card's not surprising. This is all of this being tied up. All this stuff gets tied up That's not surprising that that's come along. But this area of opportunity and growth, this victory card says yes, yes, yes. And the King of Cups here is an energy around this. Personally, I think it's Joe Biden. This energy around this older person who is this stalwart and sits behind the whole thing, and has been in some ways, or in a big way, the instigator of this 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 movement, this throwing everything forward into energy and movement and things going on so that we could experience this growth and success around this. The Ace of Wands, I think, is a lovely card because this is a card of opportunity, and there is still, and there is none of us are saying for 1 minute that it's it's a pushover, but watch the space because it hasn't finished yet. It hasn't all taken place yet. I've said this for ages, that be prepared. Be prepared for surprises, because between now and November, there's a lot brewing. It's like a cauldron. There's a lot brewing. There's a lot going on. But I do think that Kamala Harris, I'm getting from the energies I'm getting from the stuff I've been reading around the goddess and the feminine, the things, I do believe that Kamala Harris will be the first woman president of the United States. Wonderful to have women moving along and moving into positions where they're not being pushed down and grabbed by the what and all the other nonsense that's gone on that's quite degrading to the feminine. Love you all. Thank you so much. I went a little bit over time today, but thank you so much for coming back this week. My heart, I love you all. I love you, and I thank you, and I appreciate you, and I know that when our other channel begins, you'll come over there and support my sister and I in our new endeavour. And that's an endeavour of the feminine coming together and this area of Gemini and the uniting. Have a look around for your Gemini opportunities, will you? Thank you. Love you all, and I'll see you next week.